And we are back. Welcome back, everybody. How you doing, Nick?
Good. How are you?
I am doing pretty cool. Getting hungry. Nearly lunchtime.
Yes.
Yum. Rightio. So we have got some data being sent off to Amazon Mobile Analytics. And we want to be able to play with this data and do our own analytics on it as we see fit. Because this is just some top-level stuff. So we want to set up our data to be pushed to S3. And which is Amazon's storage solution. So let's quickly talk about some other Amazon services first. So if we were to get... so Mobile Analytics is a combination of a few of AWS's services. And I think it's a good idea to know what they are as well, so you kind of have an idea of what's actually happening in the first place. So we've looked at so far Cognito, or a very quick overview of Cognito, saying this is your ID. And we'll see more of that in action when we actually get the data into DataBricks.
Yeah.
But if we want to get the data into S3, which is where DataBricks is going to be reading it from,
Yes.
then we need to stream the data to S3.
Yes.
And Mobile Analytics will take care of that for us. But I just want to quickly talk about what, if we were to build this on our own, what we could do for that one. So inside of services, I've just clicked up there and I'm going to type in Kinesis. And Kinesis working with real-time streaming data. If you did want to try and find it down here somewhere, it is under Analytics, which is here. Analytics, Kinesis. Rightio, so there's two types of streaming sets of data. There are streams and there's Firehose. Now then there's analytics, which is a way of querying both streams and Firehose. So you can query what you've got in the buffer.
Right.
But let's quickly talk about streams. So Kinesis streams are a way for you to just send in data to Amazon Kinesis. And you go, what kind of data? Whatever data you want.
Okay.
So we could be sending off our... Did we keep this thing here? Yes. We could just turn this into a JSON object and then fire off this JSON object somewhere and say, hey, Kinesis, just keep this piece of data for me. And it'll go, no troubles at all. But it'll hold it in the Kinesis server. And you've got... it'll hold it in there by default for 14 or 12 hours. And you go, great. What if after that 12 hours, I forget to go and read the data from the stream?
Yeah.
It goes, well, I'm just going to hold it for 12 hours and then I'm going to delete it. So it's this continuous 12-hour moving window of data that it keeps. So if you wanted to, you could set up a Kinesis stream and push your data up there, but you've got to remember that you have to have something that goes ahead and reads it and pulls it out for you. So we could then set up another service that would go and read the stream, combine it into one object, and save that object to S3 as a file.
Okay.
But we go, yeah, that's a lot of fun stuff, and I don't really want to have to deal with any of that.
Yeah,
So
because
there's-
what would read it out of the stream?
Exactly. What would read it out of the stream? We'd have to have another web service that set it up and was sitting there continuously polling this stream, saying, "Have you got data? Have you got data?"
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. It's another way of doing web analytics, which is quite handy. But in our case, for this game here, the idea was to keep it as cheap as possible. So you can get. We said that Mobile Analytics has this up to a 60-minute delay to get you your data.
Yeah.
If you wanted it to be faster than 60 minutes, you needed it on the dot, then you could go and set up a Kinesis stream.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, cool. Because you'd already have it, yeah.
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 Now, we're not going to go into setting up the streams, but if you wanted to, that is another way you can do it. If a 60-minute delay is just too slow for you for whatever reason, you need it faster, Kinesis stream is the way to go. And if anyone out there has heard of Apache Kafka, the Amazon Kinesis stream is essentially Apache Kafka. It's a streaming thing. You send your data and you read off the stream.
Okay.
It's designed to be super fast and handle lots of connections. Whereas, Nick, your point there earlier was, how do I have to have a service that reads off the stream, and that's going to be something else I have to set up. So Amazon answered that question by saying, let's set up Firehose. You can just send up a whole bunch of data to the stream. We won't give you a way to look at what's on the stream. However, we will give you we will automatically write that data to an S3 bucket for you.
Okay.
So you could say, awesome, I want you to, it'll take care of the batching for you. You can say, keep this data. I'm going to send all my data up to you. I'm never going to talk to you directly, Firehose.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you either wait until you have 1 meg of data in your buffer, or it's been 5 minutes.
Right.
And then it'll go, awesome, I'll take that batch of either 1 meg or 5 minutes worth of nothing, or worth of data, and I will combine that into one single file, and I'll write that to S3 for you.
Okay, cool.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome.
But it says transform, like...
Yeah, transform, because you can send data into Firehose. Now, this is another topic that we won't be talking about, but you can send data up to Firehose that can trigger a Lambda to happen and says, hey, I've received an event, please do some stuff to the data, and then add it to the buffer.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So, yeah, not something that we'll be covering too much, but if you do want to go ahead and do that type of style, you can look up Lambda in here, which is quite handy indeed. Rightio, so the third one that it's got here, I said there's 2 types of streams, but it also does have analytics, which allows you to run your analytics over the streams itself.
Right.
Oh no, they've updated it so you can now do Firehose and streams. Cool. They didn't used to have that. It used to just be streams. Now you can do analytics and Firehose.
That's pretty sweet.
That is pretty sweet. Anyway, that's not what we're going to be doing. So, Mobile Analytics says, I will take care of the Cognito app pool for you, and I will also push your data to S3 for you.
Sweet.
And it's doing that through a Firehose.
Okay.
And it says, we said up to a 60-minute delay.
Right.
That means behind the scenes, Mobile Analytics has said, I will either capture data up to a certain buffer size, and if you overflow my buffer size, I will collate those into one batch and write that file to S3.
Yes.
Or, if you just send me little bits and pieces of data, not enough to fill up the buffer, then I will wait until it's been 60 minutes since the last send, and I'll group that, and I'll push that over to S3 for you.
Alright.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. Cool. Rightio, so Mobile Analytics is taking care of the Cognito IDs for us and the Kinesis Firehose streaming service for us. So let's go back to Mobile Analytics.
More stuff?
More stuff?
Maybe.
Well, we're not really. We're still the same user.
I was looking.
Maybe a few sessions. 5 sessions. We were at 4 before.
Whoa. Maybe we have custom events then.
Maybe we have custom events. Nick's
event!
event!
We got it!
Hey! Alright, so...
18.
we did press P quite a few times.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, cool. So, anyway, let's come back to this part. Let's keep going on topic. Back to the overview. Sorry, I didn't go back to the overview. Over on the right-hand side, we've got export your data.
Okay.
So from here, we can say, where do you want to push your data to? We could send it to Redshift, or we can send it to S3. Now, we're not going to talk about Redshift. We'll just talk about S3.
Okay.
So we set up the app 3D Buzz Game Analytics. I'm going to tick on this one, and then go configure auto export to S3, enable auto export.
Oh, that's awesome. That's pretty cool.
And then it should have asked me
Well,
for stuff. Let's
it already says auto export.
auto export to S3.
Oh, it's already been exporting to S3. What is Redshift has been configured for this bucket? That's
weird. I get what it's doing. It's sending both of these apps, because I already had the streaming set up for the original project. It's saying, cool, I'll send this one to the same S3 bucket.
Okay, so we want to change that. So
no, I'm actually not going to change it. I don't think it's going to let me. Let's go to view integration steps. Yeah, that's going to just show up these things here again. Alright, bugger. I was hoping that it would let me set up my own bucket or anything, because then that could have been my way of introducing you to S3.
Yeah.
But let's do it anyway. Let's go to S3 on ourselves. If you are following along, then go to export your data, tick the box and say configure auto export to S3. It'll tell you, it'll ask you, which bucket do you want to go to? Now, I can't remember if it says, if it lets you create a new bucket or if it assumes you've already got one.
Yep.
But this is a good point when we do have to start talking about regions. So this Mobile Analytics is set to global, and as we saw earlier, it was using the region of US East 1.
Yep.
But when we go to S3, so my one's already set up to go to AWS Unity Analytics. So that means I've got a bucket called AWS Unity Analytics. Let's go to S3. And you can see I've got a whole bunch of buckets in here. Now a bucket is just a stash of data. Think of each one as its own little USB drive.
Sweet.
which is probably a really bad analogy, but we'll go for that. It's its own little, it's a
file system.
It's its own file system, which is independent of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to, you can create a new bucket.
Are you going to make a new bucket?
We're going to make a new bucket just for the sake of creating a new bucket.
Okay.
But we're not going to use this bucket. We're going to use the other bucket. So let's call it G'day from
3 Buzz.
Australia.
Alright, we can do that too.
G'day from Australia. Awesome.
Yep.
And it says, what region do you want to create this bucket in? Now, picking the region is usually an important piece, because if you're in Australia, then you want to talk to Australian servers to make the data transfer go really fast.
As possible, yeah.
But Amazon has got their own network laid around the place. If you want to hear more about how insanely cool their network is and how they built it, go to YouTube and look up the keynote from Werner Vognel's the keynote from reInvent 2016.
Okay.
He had this really cool thing how they told you how they laid all the cables and how fast they are, and how it was actually a really interesting talk. Anyway, so you can pick whichever region you want. You would generally pick something that's close to you. And great. Do we need to copy settings from an existing bucket? No, we're just going to leave this part blank and go create.
Yes.
And now we chill, and G'day from Australia. This bucket has been created and says, I am local to Sydney, Asia Pacific.
Are you able to change the region after it's created? Or?
No.
No?
If you wanted to, you would have to create a new bucket.
Fair enough.
Now, if someone else had created a bucket called G'day from Australia, then we would be told, no, you can't have that bucket.
Anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter if someone had put it in Sydney or North Virginia or Ohio or Tokyo. No, they must be globally unique.
Interesting.
All right, so I've already got one called AWS Unity Analytics, and this is where the other mobile analytics was already exporting to. And we can see that it has set itself up in US East, North Virginia.
Yep.
And we go, hang on, US East, haven't I seen something with US East 1 before?
Yeah.
So that's why it chose that one for me.
Okay.
And I think when you set up your one, everyone watching, it'll probably pick US East 1 for you as well, unless it had you with a different region, in which case you'll probably find your bucket gets created there.
But it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter, no, with a but. And we'll come back to that when we talk about DataBricks, if that's okay.
Okay.
Cool. So let's look at this one. We have now got AWS MA, and you can see where I've been uploading the videos that I've been encoding, and a build of the game. So let's go AWS MA. So AWS Mobile Analytics, and it says into events, and it's got our 2 app IDs in here. Well, you would only have one, but our one was 525909, wasn't it? It was.
Yes, it was 4C7.
25909. Yes,
look at the first
you're looking at the first part. Yeah. I always go to the end part.
Ooh,
go team.
We've verified it.
Okay, so it's this one here. And if we look at this one, when you stream your data out to an S3 bucket or to a folder, it says, I'm going to partition it by year, so 2017, by month, because it's 06, because it's June, and 18, because it's the 18th of June today. Cool. And if we look in here, we now have, 1 and 2. This is the hour that it's done at 01 and 02, which is local to...
Oh, it's Virginia time.
Virginia's time.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so let's click on 02. And we can see we've got some files in here. Whoa. And you go, whoa, what is all this big this big file name? I don't know. And really,
doesn't matter.
I don't need to know.
Oh.
I don't need to know. Yeah, but we can kind of look at it and see, oh, there's the file, there's the app ID, and there's I don't know what this part is, but it's a way of splitting the data, making sure it's in together, and then it's just got this ID on the end to say this is the ID of the send from the stream. Okay, so by default, if you go, I'm going to click on this file, please, and then you go, hey, there's the link, I'll just take this link and I'll share it with all my friends. When you click on it, Amazon says, no. Hang on. The first thing is that everything is, if you upload it to S3, no one can touch it.
Okay, so you can either have... So this is a private link then?
Not even a private link. It's just a link that says, look, this is how you would get to this file if you were to make it public. So here's a make public button. So everything on S3 is lovely and secure. You can't download it unless you create a role and say this role now has access to talk to that file.
Okay.
So now let's make this one public. Success. And now this is a completely public file. Anyone who wanted to would be able to come along here and click on this file, or I could email this link to you, Nick, and you would be able to download it. So now it's downloaded this gzip file.
That was cool.
Yeah. Okay, so storage class, standard. There are different types of storage available in S3. By default, standard is the standard one. Yeah, makes sense. You've got another one which is called Glacier, where you go, you know what, I don't need it to be available all the time. I might say, I want to get that file, please S3, make it available for me within the next 1 to 3 hours.
Right.
And so it'll go, no troubles at all. And you go, what would be the point of that? And you go, well, that keeps it cheaper.
Okay. Is it also like long-term storage?
Yes.
Then? Okay.
Yes.
Is it redundant or something like that, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So Amazon S3 has what they call 11 nines of durability. So you upload a file to S3.
11 what?
11 nines.
11 nines.
99.999999999.
That's a fair few
That's
nines.
11 nines, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes.
% durability. So basically, you upload a file to S3 and it goes, cool. I'm going to... Now, we talked about region...
How do they even calculate that?
Magic.
Alright.
I don't know.
That's good enough for me.
When you upload a file to S3, you upload it to the region. But we talked about availability zones. So we said that Sydney has 3 availability zones.
Oh, okay.
So when you upload a file to Sydney, I'm making air quotes, whoever can't see it.
Everyone except for me.
Is everyone except Nick, yeah. It says, awesome, I will now save that file into each of the availability zones, so all 3 of them. And I will also make a bunch of extra copies in each of those regions as well. So if one of the hard drives fails, or a giant flood comes along and floods the Sydney one that happened 2 years ago.
Happen, right?
Oh, it's happened before. Then you go, awesome. Well, it doesn't matter that hard drive failed because it's actually somewhere else as well. It's actually got a whole bunch of backups all made around the place.
Pretty nice.
Yep, so let's quickly click on this one. And I will extract this file into the 3D Buzz folder that I had.
Nice.
And now let's go to Notepad. And we'll bring that file into Notepad. Do I want to save this one? No, I don't need to. And we can see that it's actually the raw JSON of each individual event that got saved to here. And we go, awesome, where is each line start? And each line starts with event type Nix event.
Right.
So where's the next event type Nix event? Attributes.
Nix event.
Nix event. There we go. I'm going to quickly find this. Awesome, so that is the right one. Cool. And let's look at what this data has. So when we sent off the Nix event, we can see that we have the event type of Nix event. We have the timestamp that the event happened. Now it's a very important one that you have you have 2 timestamps in here. One when the event happened, and 2.
That's a Unix.
Yes.
Thing.
So we have the Unix time of when the event happened, and we have the time of when the event arrived.
Cool. Oh, that's nice.
So this is a handy one because I might be playing the game in an offline mode, and I don't have the internet turned on. I don't have Wi-Fi on, and all of a sudden I create all these analytic events, and it saves them all into the device, and it says next time I turn myself onto the internet, next time I have internet access and the app is open, I will send off this backlog of data. So it now knows when the event actually happened and can recalculate with the previous data. And you can also put in rules that say if it's older than 3 hours or 5 days or whatever time period you want. So that's too old, I don't care about it anymore. Disregard it. So don't stuff up what I'm trying to import.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just how long it took to get here.
So yeah, how long did it actually take it? When we press P and say trigger that event to send off the data, it doesn't actually send it straight away.
Yeah.
It waits and waits and waits until it has enough to actually send off at once.
It's quite interesting.
It waits until there's less CPU, until there's less network availability. So this is what's really cool about mobile analytics. It takes care of all that batching for you as well. All right, so I thought this would be pretty interesting just to see that. And that's up and running. So if you are following along at home or on the bus or on the train, and you had just set up your export, you might not see data available in your S3 bucket just yet.
Yeah, you get it.
You'll get it
maybe a little while later.
Yeah, you'll get it as you send in new events after you set up your export.
So there's probably... Right, okay, so, and you mentioned before how you can do it, it does it sort of like in batches.
Yes.
So if you forced a bunch of data, that would sort of force the stuff earliest on to get pushed out as quick as possible.
Yeah, you could do that, but how much data do you need to send?
Yeah.
I don't know, and bugger.
Yeah, well...
But you could do that,
Yeah, you can either wait or you can do it real quick and hit your file cap limit size.
But if you do that, then you've stuffed up your analytics as well because you're oversending extra data that you didn't mean to.
Yes.
Trade-offs, damn it.
Yeah. But, well, I mean,
Yeah.
accuracy is probably better than being like impatient.
Or you could do what we're going to do, and if this part hadn't already sent off, the plan was what we were going to do here, everybody, was set up the export, fire off a bunch of events, then go and get some lunch and come back and have some data to record
but
the
now
next
we
video.
can't get lunch.
Now we're going to starve. Fun stuff. Okay, cool. I think that's long enough for this video. Let's finish it off. If you want to have a look through this a bit more, please, by all means, go through it, look in there. However, the next thing we're going to do is go to DataBricks and set up an account there, set up a cluster, and start reading this data, and we'll be able to see it in a much prettier format. Woo. Or you can go to jasonprettyprint.com and copy paste this in, and you'll have a pretty JSON.
Cool.
All right, cool. So that's enough from this one. We'll see you all in the next video, everybody.
All right, see you later.